Hello and welcome. Thanks so much for being here to check out my video on using Zoom polls in a real specific way in your classes to not only increase engagement and participation, but to give students an experiential way to discover content. So it doesn't always have to be learned through lecture or other examples or narratives that I might use. And you can try this in any class you're teaching with any topic, any kind of online setting. And in fact, if you're a facilitator of meetings or webinars, I would consider this too. We're going to take the poll strategy of bringing in people's opinions and perspectives, but apply it directly to the content you want them to walk away with. So simultaneously, we'll be getting participation and engaging, but it's almost like a living experiment where at the end of the poll, students go, oh my gosh, I've just learned something, and guess what? It's exactly what you wanted them to learn. Let me give an example because this sounds a little abstract. I'll share 3 examples total in this video. This is one that I use when I'm teaching a live online business writing, strategic writing, communication, emailing kind of class. And you could adapt this to your content. What I like about this example specifically is that it relates to the student or participant's authentic experience. They are just getting there in class. They are being welcomed. So they're able to experience the possible answers to my question here, which provides the warmest welcome. Now, why would I create a question like that? My goal here is for students to learn, oh, writing not only informs, but conveys a tone. And secondly, I want to get at this idea that we can choose words strategically to create relationship impacts, as well as just give information, right? But I don't necessarily want to give a lecture on that because it's not always as meaningful if you don't experience it yourself. So here they are, brand new participant, they're being welcomed, and I say, hey, let's talk about writing with a goal in mind. My goal is to be warm. Which of these would help me achieve that goal? So then, I've set these in there ahead of time, of course, and I've set them all in this case to single answer. You could do what you needed for the discussion that you want to create. With this one, they choose one, and then I generally ask 2 sets of questions after, and this is where the big discussion comes and where the big discoveries come when students hear from one another through the chat box, out loud, however you like to facilitate that debrief. Typically, I'll ask, first of all, in examples like this, what made you pick the one you did? Starting with the positive. What motivated you to feel like one of these was warmer than the others? And then we get all kinds of learning in the student responses. They're saying in the chat, well, I felt valued by being here. You're not judging what I'm doing. I'm here and that's enough. Or maybe we're saying out loud, well, I liked thank you for joining us. I felt included both by the join and the us. So usually I'll start with a sort of positive debrief. What did you see happening here that would work for the reader? You, of course, would be asked after a different question, potentially depending on your topic. Then I do a second set of questions or discussion points, which is what made you not choose the others? The negative side, which of these missed the target of this goal-oriented writing? Then we get another really useful discussion because we start to see, oh my gosh, my words can have negative impacts on people too. And we hear things like, well, attending sounded bureaucratic. It made me feel like a number. Now I don't have to say to people, hey, some writing can sound bureaucratic. Let's be careful. They've just felt it, right? And so you could be thinking, what is something that happens at the beginning of your class or any specific time of the class where the students are in an authentic experience like that? But let's get into 2 other examples that might pertain across fields or give other examples. This second one is really just about the idea that words are subjective and we all bring our own perspective when we understand language. So I have this goal of having my students realize, ooh, interpretation is a thing. People will come to language and reading and listening with their own perspectives. So we can't use words like, hey, could you get that done soon? Or this event was really big, because we don't know what those words mean to other people. So I'll offer this poll to help us all discover that. And it asks everyone, if a friend told you their new shirt was expensive, what number would be popping up in your head? And of course, these are anonymous, right? So often what happens is people will think, oh my gosh, I assumed everyone would think it was like 75, but now I see a bunch of people thought 50, a bunch of people thought 100. We are not all the same in how we interpret this word. And that's the discovery I wanted them to have, so that we can know, oh, using a word like ASAP, it's up to interpretation, right? Now they've experienced that for themselves. So it's experiential learning, but you're driving that engagement in the discussion. And you're also preventing having to always lecture on every concept, because this kind of teases out the knowledge on its own. Third example is a little more pointed. Maybe if I'm in a class like writing for executives and we want to talk all about being brief and actionable, I'm going to ask this because I want students to start discovering, how can I write in an actionable way? I don't necessarily want to just say, here are 5 best practices for writing in an actionable manner. Instead, I say, hey, you, as a reader, which of these would allow you to just quickly start taking action? You wouldn't have to do a follow-up phone call. You wouldn't have to wonder. You would just get it done. And then they vote. Of course, we see the results and we discuss why. In this case, we see a lot of people liking the second and fourth one. And then, of course, we say, why did those work for you? And that's where we get all the answers about how to write in an actionable way. It has a deadline, someone will say. It has a place, this link, a resource. It has an action verb or a command verb. Well, lo and behold, those are the things that a call to action needs, right? So you've already got that learning, but they're discovering it on their own. Then we do that second follow-up question. Why did the other remaining options that got very few or 0 votes not work for you? And then we get to have a discussion on number 3, for example, on things like, hey, a slow lead-in, it is important to prevents, delays knowledge, delays learning for the reader. It doesn't feel actionable. Discovered another thing, right? So I would be really excited to hear which different topics you would like to apply this concept to. Maybe you're doing something like this already, or maybe now you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do that in my science class in this particular way, where we're experiencing the concept and we're discovering the information less than we're being told the information. All right, so thanks so much for watching. I'm Erin Lebax. This is High Value Writing. Please let me know what you think, and if you try this in your class, I would love to hear about it. Thanks.